It is. I think it's Wednesday. Yeah, because we've been putting off recording the show for a few days, but it is Wednesday, October 8th, 2025. And that means it's time for the Knee Jerks podcast with Eno, Nick, and Big Al. I am the Big Al of the equation. I am not the Nick or the Eno. Long-time Detroit-based podcaster Al Beaton. Joining me, as always, to talk all things Detroit sports is first off our West Coast correspondent, and that would be Nick Milanovich. Nick, how are things?
Oh, things are going pretty well over here. Quiet since the Mariners are out in Detroit versus out here.
Yes. Yeah.
For me, I say thank God because I'm not that far from the T-Mobile Park, and the traffic is nightmare without a game going on, and with the game, it's just like the worst. So I'm glad. I'm hoping for them to stay here, but they're doing a 1:40 game out here on Friday.
That's something else we can kind of discuss is all these weird start times for obviously the teams the MLB and the TV networks don't care about. That's obviously the Mariners and the Tigers. And also joining us, as always, is my longtime partner in crime of the Greg Eno Out of Bounds Substack and a bump avant, a man about town, a Renaissance man, as I like to call him. That would be Greg Eno. How's that for an introduction?
I don't know if I can live up to it now. The pressure is on. Thanks, Al. I am Greg Eno from my Greg Eno Substack, gregeno.substack.com. Please subscribe. I will be in your inbox every Monday, at least. I occasionally drop in a bonus column on Thursdays, but every Monday for sure. The last piece I did was about Steve Yzerman's slow rolling the Red Wings rebuild and kind of gaslighting the media and the fans with this nonsense that it's standard in the NHL for a rebuild of this nature to take 8 to 10 years and so forth. So take a peek at that and subscribe if you would, please. I'd appreciate that. And also, I'm like I said, I'm at Greg Eno on X as well. We do not have a guest tonight, which is by design. Because
I am up north again, as you can tell by the background here.
Yeah, we want to keep things a little bit simple when it comes to the feed because Al's up north, which is fine, and we only have a couple of hot topics to really talk about tonight anyway. Red Wings, so all we may touch on that a little bit. The Tigers and the Lions, of course. But before we get to any of that stuff, I want to play a game that we like to call "Whose Birthday Is It, Maestro?" Everybody knows how I play this game by now. I give Al and Nick a clue or two or three of an individual whose birthday it is today in the world of sports. And if one of those gentlemen can correctly guess this person within the first two clues, he will receive 5 cases of Pepsi Free. Pepsi Free. Remember Pepsi Free?
I was hoping for Crystal Pepsi.
Oh, remember that one? Yeah. Tab. How about Tab?
There you go.
This person made his name in football. He was born on this date in 1965, so he's 60 years old today. Happy birthday. He was a player in the NFL and also an executive in the NFL and made a stop here in the Motor City as an executive.
Player and executive, born in 65. And he was actually worked in the Lions front office.
He sure did.
The only guy I can think of, and I don't know his age at all, is Martin Mayhew.
You got it. Martin Mayhew. You got it. You have got it. Martin Mayhew is 60 today. Marty was, of course, a defensive back in the NFL. He won a Super Bowl with the Redskins, and I played for the Bucs as well, and then infamously joined the Lions front office and was part of that purge in 2015 when old lady Ford, Martha Ford, canned him and Tom LaWanda, I think on the same day, Al. I think it was the same day, and ushered in a new wave of which didn't work initially, but Sheila Ford Hamp eventually took over, as we all know.
The Martha Massacre, we could call it, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, what did they say? She was rolling around on a golf cart pointing at people to fire or something to that effect.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. I gave her a lot of credit for doing that, though.
Yeah.
I really did. And that was, I was very heartened by that. But I don't know where Martin's now.
Is he with Washington back with their front office?
I thought he was on the East Coast somewhere too.
Well, it says he retired. He's retired now. But you're right. He was with Washington now. You're right. He was with Washington. Yeah.
You know, Martha Ford hit 100 years old this year.
Yes, just a little while ago.
Yeah,
I think last month. Yeah.
Didn't she get a game ball, I think, earlier this year or something like that
so.
on her birthday? Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
5 cases of Pepsi Free are on their way to Seattle. And drink them in good health, Mr. Milanovich.
He gives them to clean his drains or something.
No, I'm just going to take it over to the Hanford nuclear waste dump on the other side of the state.
All right. With that, well, as we've kind of alluded to some of what we're going to talk about, because again, this is going to be kind of another fast and loose show, because when I'm up north, we find it easier to have a little shorter episode. And I've actually been awful busy up here. I have 8.5 face cord of wood I've been working on stacking, plus baseball. You know, we've been wanting to follow the game, watch the game or whatever. So I didn't really have a lot of time to put together notes for this show. So we're just going to kind of wing it. We did the same thing the last one. We thought it went pretty well. So essentially, we're going to bullshit for about an hour and 15 minutes. So with that, I guess we can start with the Tigers, because that actually happened today. Well, the last 2 days, actually, where I would say mood about this team is it's just amazing to even today. Last night, it was like, and it was a bad loss. I mean, we did text about it together last night, and it was just a badly played game. It was a boring game. The bats were completely silent till the 9th inning when some pinch hitters came through. But that game was pretty much done early on. And the Tigers looked like they were going through the motions. Today, it's 3-0, I believe, going into, was it the 5th inning, I believe?
I think
and
so,
all of a sudden, the bats exploded. Javi Baez is looking like the team MVP right now. And he homered. Riley Green finally homered. And Gleyber Torres hit a home run. They actually, and the bullpen came through because they had a very short hook on Casey Mize. They only went 3 innings. As soon as the second time around came, and a bunch of lefties were second time around the lineup, and a bunch of lefties were coming to face him, they went right to the bullpen, which blew up because Holton, the left-hander, didn't get a single guy out, but. The bullpen did come through, got out that jam with only 1 run, and then the Tigers bats took off from there. I believe it was a 9-3 final. So as Nick said earlier, he's going to have to put up with the crowds and the noise of a Game 5 in Seattle. With the Mariners will have to try and beat Tarik Skubal twice in 1 week, because he will be the Game 5 starter for the Tigers. So I guess we know Nick's feelings on all this, but there's a lot more to this, because be honest with you, we've been making comparisons between Scott Harris and Steve Eisman over the past couple of days. But regardless of that, I'll go to you first, Greg. Baseball sure is a funny game, because the Tigers look like they were going to go out with an absolute whimper this afternoon, and then the bats exploded, and here we are talking about a Game 5.
It is indeed, as Joe Garagiola famously wrote in his book, or titled his book, "Baseball is a funny game."
Funny game. Yep.
It's funny because it was really a tale of 2 games. The first, like you mentioned, the first 5 innings was the Comerica Park was dead. The Tigers were dead. The announcers were, beside themselves, really trying to describe how bad the situation was with the Tigers' offense and so forth. And lo and behold, when the Tigers started scoring some runs, the Mariners went dead. I mean, they went out with a whimper the last 4 or 5 innings. Or after the Tigers took the lead, the Mariners didn't do anything offensively. They were dead. They went with a whimper. And obviously, Troy Melton was outstanding. He pitched 3 scoreless innings. He was very, very good. The announcers were raving about him. With good reason. But the Mariners just kind of rolled over and played dead after the Tigers went ahead. I was on the Mariners Reddit for a little while during that game to see what their reaction was, and they were, as you can imagine, as all fan bases are, dooming and glooming about facing Skubal in Game 5 and getting upset with their own teams at bats, just like the Tigers fans were getting upset with the Tigers at bats. But yeah, I mean, it just goes to show you it doesn't take much sometimes to get things going. It was just getting that first hit to get things going that had been the problem. And I think they mentioned that all 18 runs the Tigers have scored in this series have been scored from the 5th inning on. Which is, I don't know how you look. I don't know I'm not sure if that's a good stat or a bad stat. What it does say to me though is they just don't jump on teams early. And I think if they can flip that script in Game 5 with Skubal on the mound, jump on the Mariners early, get a couple runs early, Mariners might press a little bit because they're already behind the 8 ball. I know they've beaten Skubal 3 times. I get it. But to beat him a 4th time, to beat him, like you said, twice. And really, it wasn't when I say beat Skubal. Skubal did not get the loss in Game 2, by the way. That was not.
No, and he only gave up 2 runs.
Yeah, he those 2 solo home runs to Polanco. He did not get accredited with the loss. That 3rd run was scored off the bullpen. But regardless, it's still beating Skubal in games, beating Tigers the games that Skubal starts. It's going to be hard for them to do that. But if the Tigers can somehow muster up some pre-5th inning offense for a change. Put some pressure on the Mariners, and the fans, are going to get a little restless when they see Skubal. If Skubal has a good game, mowing down their hitters, and the Tigers have a 2-3-0 lead, that place is going to get a little bit disturbing. So we'll see what happens. But the Tigers have got to start scoring early, guys. This 5th inning and on stuff, it may look like they save all their good stuff for later in the game, but really, the Mariners have scored first in all 4 games so far. Yet here we are 2-2. I don't think that's a recipe for success to win a series, but we'll see.
Yeah, and also, what's now put it this way though, the Tigers are now 2-2 in elimination games. Because they had a obviously there was one with the with Cleveland, in the 3-game series, and now here we are. They had a chance to get knocked out, and they came through. And this is still with the offensive struggle. Essentially, their offense in the Cleveland series was essentially 1 inning. But that was pretty much enough, thank goodness. And then in this series, the offense has been very, it's been sparse, but they somehow managed to scrape together 2 wins. So. It's and if you look at the numbers, you look at the I have the I have the box score up, which has the cumulative numbers of the team, and the only guy who was actually hitting at all is Javi Baez. So Nick, tell me you saw that coming.
No. The short answer is nowhere. And I also didn't see coming Riley Green stinking it up so bad he couldn't hit water on the boat.
Right.
That's true for a lot of the Tiger hitters. They're just not hitting anything.
Yeah. But it says something that Baez has been here before. He's he won a World Series with the Cubs. He's been through some high pressure situations, and he seems like the one Tiger, especially when it comes, amazingly enough, when it comes to being at the plate, the one Tiger who was literally locked in on offense right now. And he's not swinging for the fences, even though he did hit a home run today. He's swinging with the pitch. He's going with the ball. Going with the pitch, hitting the ball to the opposite field. He had 4 RBIs today, for Christ's sake. He's hitting 346 in the series, has a 500 slugging. And, even though he did have a bad second half, to be blunt, he did make the All-Star game, but the second half, like much of the rest of the Tigers offense, was not good. He has been arguably the Tigers MVP in the playoffs.
I would say so too. I don't know who else would qualify this tour. I haven't seen Torres' numbers, but he's doing okay. But everybody else is cold. Completely, dead cold.
Yeah.
So I was trying to look up some of the.
I'm sorry. I was just going to say.
They couldn't hit water if they.
Yeah.
I know. They couldn't hit water if they fell out of a boat, right? I mean,
Right.
so it's really, really bad. But, they've been suffering from that like the whole second half of the season. Just cannot. It's like they get a hit just by accident, and more than just given enough chances, they'll get a hit. But Colt Keith has done nothing. Torkelson had a moment or two, but that's it. Riley Green, the heart of the order, basically.
Yeah.
Like, has done nothing. It's like, which pitching staff can hold off? How do you lose giving up only 2 or 3 runs? So,
yeah.
I'm
sure Mariners fans got to be absolutely losing it, seeing how bad the Tigers' offense has been, and yet they're going to a Game 5.
And they can't capitalize. I can't imagine what one of these teams will do against the Blue Jays or even the Yankees.
Yeah,
because those have not been low scoring. Well, actually, for the Blue Jays,
I would not want to play the Blue Jays right now. They are absolutely hammering the ball.
I know, and I was thinking that Greg said that the Tigers haven't scored earlier than the 5th inning, and I'm wondering if that's because they can't handle the starters, but the relievers are all kind of like all over the place.
Yeah.
So, usually, the starters aren't lasting past like 5-6 innings anyway.
Right. Yeah. We're definitely we saw that today with the Mariners bullpen. They just got shelled today. And Greg has rejoined us. He was having a browser issue, so Greg is back. And we've just been talking about the only offensive player on the Tigers who's actually legitimately he's been their best hitter, and it's not even close. It's Javi Baez, and who would have saw that coming?
Right.
But he's a guy who's been here before in these situations and seems to be able to handle it better than any other Tiger.
It's so funny about him because we all know he was an all-star. He made the all-star team as a center fielder. He was very good in the first half. He looked like he was not chasing as many pitches and so forth, and he looked like a reborn player.
Yeah.
And then he kind of went back into a little funk again, as the whole team did after the all-star break, and kind of signs of old Javi and bad Javi, the Javi we don't like. And but he's not chasing pitches. That's the thing. And he just completely walloped that fastball for that 2-run homer. Seems like he's got his timing back. He's still very good defensively. He seems to be you mentioned it about the only really consistent threat throughout the entire playoffs. I think the stat was that going into today, through the first 7 playoff games, he has only struck out once, which is fascinating to me. He's making some good contact. He had 4 RBI today. He seems to be just locked in right now, and defensively he's been a big help as well. He really is, and he never really
he ended up in center field today, for example.
So he's a funny player. When he's on, he's really, really good, and when he's not, he looks really, really bad, obviously. But so far in the playoffs, it's been good, Javi.
Yeah, and what's interesting, when you go on social media, the consensus is from people who don't have a rooting interest is that baseball is better when Javi Baez is playing well and having fun, because he is such an entertaining player. And we're seeing it in this series, is that, it's El Mago, as they nicknamed him in Chicago. So, and he really does seem to be the straw that stirs the drink, and I would never have saw that coming. Out of the position players, you would have hoped it would have been one of the younger guys, but shoot.
Well,
as long as someone is coming through.
Well, the nice thing about him being hot is that he typically bats 8th or 9th.
Yeah, he batted
so
9th today.
If he's on, that means he's turning the lineup or helping to turn the lineup over. And if you've got a guy that's swinging the stick as well as he is, in the 8th or 9th spots in the order, that's a bonus. I mean, it's the home run was unbelievable. That was one of the best swings I've seen Javi put on a ball since he's been in Detroit.
Yeah, they would say it was his first home run since in the playoffs since he was with the Cubs. It was like 2017 or something like that. Playoffs.
So Javi was so good in the 2016 playoffs that he was National League Championship Series MVP.
Yeah.
So it was no joke.
Yeah, and at this point, I don't care about the contract. I don't care about what happened the first couple years of the deal. Actually, he was okay for a year. Then, honestly, I think more than anything else of him, he was hurt, and he tried to play through it with that hip thing that required surgery, and it caused him to miss the playoffs last year. And I think that kind of playing into of him as well is that I think he kind of knows how many. He's not going to have a lot more chances to be in this kind of situation. He's getting up. He's but 32 now. He's got one more year left on his on the Tiger deal, and who knows what happens to his career after that? Because he is what he is at this point. But honestly, he's best used as a utility player. He's not a, I think he's most valuable to at least the Tigers team when you play him all over the field. He's played third, short, second, and center field this year, and so he's playing like a guy saying, "I might never make it back here again. I'm going to make the most of it." And who knows what'll happen? But he's going to be on this team this year because he's owed another $25 million. But after that, I'm sure both teams will move on, and obviously the Tigers are hoping Kevin McGonigal will step in. And I guess that kind of leads us to what's become a real sore spot with the Detroit in general, essentially with a couple general managers, where they're both saying the same things, guys. Steve Yzerman and Scott Harris, well, even though Scott Harris is the president of baseball operations, he's the de facto GM. They're both saying the same goddamn thing for the most part when it comes to how they're handling their prospects and how they don't do much at the trade deadline. Yet the one fan base wants to shoot Scott Harris into the sun, and the other fan base is genuflecting in front of the guy. And it's becoming, at least to me, very hypocritical of the Detroit fan bases to have two GMs doing the exact goddamn thing, and one has his team in the playoffs 2 straight years. The other has missed it 9 straight, and his franchise has missed it 9 straight years. Yet they despise one and love the other. And I find it very frustrating as a fan that Steve Yzerman is not getting any heat at all for the majority of the fan base with this, the rebuild takes so goddamn long, yet he says shit that Scott Harris says, and people want to kill Scott Harris for it. It's ridiculous.
Go ahead, Nick. Go ahead.
I'm going to say I'm not sure if that's quite accurate anymore.
Yeah, right. I agree. Yeah.
Steve Yzerman was given a little bit of extra slack because he has a track record as a GM, and it was fairly good. And he still gets, at least from Detroit fan base, he gets some credit for building up the core of the Tampa Bay Lightning's Stanley Cup champs. And he had a hand in it for sure. I don't pay attention to Tampa Bay, so I don't know what state they were in when he joined as GM. But Detroit was terrible.
They were bad. They were really bad when he joined.
The major league team was
superstars. Don't forget that. They already had Stamkos, for example.
Yeah, right.
And
St. Louis, yeah.
Yep.
And and we had like Mantha and I don't know who. So the cupboards were bare in Detroit in the minor leagues. The what do you call it? The Wings themselves, they were not that great. Whatever they had on that ice was not good. So the other things I will say Yzerman deals with is a salary cap, and so he always has to consider that. And I think he probably has to lean a little more heavily on draft picks and young guys versus free agents. Because the great Wings teams were built on, there was a lot of free agency. Mike Ilitch threw his money around to bring in a lot of those players, and he couldn't do that anymore. But they also drafted at that time too. There was a lot of homegrown talent. But Scott Harris inherited a shit show. He came in. We knew in I think 2022 when he came in that they had like no hitting.
Yeah,
they literally had no hitting at all, and because they just didn't. That was no surprise when he came in, and he hasn't done shit. I think Yzerman has done a little more than Harris has. He's tried to sign free agents to get them, to improve the wing scoring and whatever, and a lot of it just hasn't worked.
Yeah.
Harris has done some free agents, but Torres is maybe the only one you can really point to. I can't think of it. I'm drawing a blank on any others.
You could say Flaherty, at least last year's Jack Flaherty compared to this year's, but Jack Flaherty last year, you would say Torres this year. But when it comes to free agents, it's been essentially, bargain bin hunting for the most part. And supposedly they almost had Bregman, but who knows what really happened.
The old saying of almost horseshoes and hand grenades, right?
Exactly. So, we were in on him, but you didn't get him. That's the main thing. So
exactly. So Scott Harris inherited a worn-out fan base, because I remember that year that they fired Avila, everybody was pissed. They announced before the beginning of the season that, hey, the rebuild is over, and they just shit the bed by July, and then Chris Ilitch came out and said, "Oh, I'm happy with the progress." And what the hell are you talking? What the hell are you smoking?
About that. Yeah, I remember
and
we
people
actually
were losing their minds.
Yeah,
and are you crazy? And so Harris says, people point to him doing great things with the minor leagues. What has he done? I have no idea what he's done that's made them any good, to be honest. Just because he did something and he did what Avila didn't do, does that mean he's a good minor league development? Who the hell knows? So he doesn't get the slack because he already had a worn out fan base. He doesn't have the street creds like Yzerman did. But I think the patience is wearing thin on Yzerman. It's visible. It's maybe not quite with such sharp knives, but
well, you're noticing it more now with Harris because we're in the middle. It's at the time of the year that we're at. Believe me, I spent a lot of time on Reddit, probably too much time, and I can tell you that the Red Wings fan base is not a big fan of Steve Yzerman right now as a whole. They're really, really losing their patience quickly. But everybody's talking about Harris now because we're in the baseball playoffs, so that makes sense. But they're making fun of the Red Wings being, both teams owned by the same dude. And the thing about Yzerman, though, is that, and somebody made a good point. I can't remember where I saw this. They said, Steve's trying to build something that is kind of antiquated, which is this notion that you can be a dynasty, that you can be a Stanley Cup contender year in and year out, like his teams were when he played back in the 90s and early 2000s, where the Red Wings were always in the mix every spring. Even if they got dumped out in the first round, before the playoffs began, they were considered a Stanley Cup contender. Of course, they would not always live up to that, but they were always considered in the mix. And I think what he's trying to do, which is what your guys both are saying, both of your points, is the same thing that Harris is trying to do, which is try to build some sort of a dynasty without winning anything yet. Yzerman wants to build this fiefdom where the Red Wings are back in the playoffs as a contender 8-9 years in a row like they used to be. That's not realistic. I think and that's what the gist of my article was on Monday, was my frustration with he saying that he's kind of presenting it as an either or proposition. Either you're in the playoffs because you just made it, just to make it, or you're a contender to win the whole thing. And there's no in between there to him. It's like, I don't want to be just a team that makes the playoffs. I want a team that's going to win the Stanley Cup. And even Keith Gave, I tweeted it out on Monday, and Keith reposted it. And he said it's odd. He said it's weird. It's a weird way of thinking that I'm not going to do anything really drastic until I feel like my team can win everything. That's just odd to me. You've got to get into the playoffs first. Give these guys a playoff experience. Test your mettle a little bit. Maybe you catch lightning in a bottle, win a round or two. Who knows? But it just, I don't know. It's maddening that he's taking that tack when he played. He thinks that it's the same as he could build the same thing as an executive as he had as a player, which is this year in, year out, the Red Wings are always in the mix to win a cup. But with today's roster churn and free agency and all, and salary cap to Nick's point and all that stuff, it's hard to do that. Now there's a handful of teams that are in the mix every year. We can Tampa, Florida. How many others can you say that about? I'm talking about every year, not just like one or twice and then take a couple of years off. How many teams are in the mix for a Stanley Cup every single year for like 4 or 5 years in a row? There's not that many. So I don't know why he thinks that his team can be one of those teams without having even made the playoffs yet. It's odd.
So there's one other thing in there too, Greg. Like in those old Red Wings teams that Steve was on, every year their mandate was to try and advance into the playoffs.
That's why they would make all those moves at the deadline. Yeah.
I mean, so that means, okay, how do I make my team better this coming year? Or how do I make my team better, in the middle of the season, before the trade deadline? So they were always active, always doing something, not to just do something or to make some incremental change. Like, no, there was no bullshit with them. They were after a championship.
Right.
Like when is and I say this about the Tigers too, but with the Red Wings, like when are you going to go after a championship? When are you going to act like a team that's not rebuilding?
Right.
And I used to joke about a rebuild culture, and it's like you're in that mindset of the rebuild. We're not going to try that hard because we're not ready yet. When we're ready, we'll try hard.
Right,
like,
exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck? It's like you're a competitive. You're in this competitive organization. Your goal is to win games, and to try and win a championship. Like if you're doing anything other than that, like why are you in this? Like that's what I think of with Harris. Like when the fuck are you going to actually think you're going to compete?
Right.
Your team is like defying you by actually making the playoffs 2 years in a row.
Right.
It reminds me of like the stupid movie Major League where the owner was trying to work against the team.
Yeah. Right.
And so it does not make sense. And it's crazy that I'm going to contrast this now with the Lions. They're like, no, we're fucking going in competing every single game. It's balls to the wall, no matter how good the other team is. Doesn't matter. We're out there to try and win.
Right.
Period. And it's a mindset. I mean, look at the mindset of the Lions players. They're kind of almost crazy, but hell, you like watching them. They're actually trying.
Yeah.
So, but the Red Wings and that's why the Red Wings and the Tigers are boring. It's just kind of
you're right.
I was going to say what's interesting, also kind of taking it back to the baseball with Yzerman, is that Greg found an article written by Kevin Petzold of the Free Press today, was talking about the Eugenio Suarez trade. On how the Tigers didn't make the move at the deadline to get someone like him, and the Mariners would pick him up. And even though he was, even though Suarez hasn't been good for them since they picked him up, he did have that big hit a game ago.
Yeah.
But what was interesting was the quote where the Mariners GM said, to paraphrase him, "I wanted to show my team that I believed in them enough to where I felt, I wanted to add to their roster and make them better, essentially."
Yeah.
And that compared to what both Harris and Yzerman said at the last trade deadline. If you look up what Yzerman said at the last trade deadline, I looked at what was available, and I just didn't see anything that I thought that would help us long term. And then you had Dylan Larkin admitting that greatly disappointed the locker room, that their own GM didn't feel they were good enough to add help. And that really blew up last spring as well. So again, that kind of stood out to me when we kind of looked into it. Was that what he said was essentially what the Mariners GM said about his team was essentially the polar opposite of what Yzerman said about his own team. And the thing is, though, at that time, the Wings were on the cusp of qualifying for the playoffs. They were in the hunt. They could have been a wild card, and he didn't do anything. So I think that's what kind of gets frustrating with me is this slow roll of this franchise, and the other thing is also is making this even tougher that Eisman is trying to do this without having a true impact, all-star,
right,
Hart Trophy type player.
Right.
And pretty much every team we've seen win the Stanley Cup in the century has one or two of those guys. The one outlier, I think, was the St. Louis Blues. I think was it 2019? And that team was much like the 2004 Pistons. They were an outlier as well, where the sum was greater than the parts, as they say.
Right.
But you need that impact guy. And the problem with the Wings is that they're not going to find it in the draft. Not where they're drafting right now, and because of some bad luck, they're not going to find that guy in the draft. So they are kind of stuck in that mushy middle on the playoff cusp. And I'm not sure what they're going to be able to do to find that guy unless they extremely overpay in free agency. And with the salary cap going up and the changes we're seeing in hockey, those guys rarely hit the market anymore.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, everything you said is dead on. It's you're right. But at the same time, I'm going back to what Nick said about what are you doing here? Are you what are you trying to do here? Are you in it? Or are you not in it? Are you trying to win it? Or are you not trying to win it?
Which goes for Scott Harris as well, you could say. So yeah,
the Larkin Yzerman thing. Well, first of all, let me go back to Suarez because you and I went back and forth on this a little bit earlier today, and I was telling Nick too. I said, it wasn't as much to me about Gino's numbers, which, like you said, have not been good since he came back came to Seattle. That's without question. However, to me, it was more about the spirit of what DePoto was trying to do. Or DePito,
it was the best hitter on the market. Yeah,
I mean, he first of all, you don't know when you make the trade how good the guy's going to be. Nobody has a crystal ball. And okay, so he comes to Seattle. He doesn't tear up the league like I'm sure the Mariners fans would have wanted him to. They also brought in Naylor as well at the deadline, who did do well, by the way. Okay, so Suarez didn't do but he was still a threat. He's still a big league hitter. He's still a guy who's got a track record. Yeah, he was cold, but he was still on your roster, and it still showed the rest of the Mariners that the front office believes in them and let's go for it. And don't forget, this is a Seattle franchise that does not exactly have a reputation of being annual playoff participants. Okay, their playoff appearances are few and far between. And I don't know if I hear one more time on the broadcast that they haven't won, that was their first home playoff win in 24 years, I'm going to scream. They've said that ad nauseum throughout this entire series. We get it. Okay, you stunk for 24 years. We get it. So this is a front office that said, look, we're the Seattle Mariners. We don't have all these pennants behind us. We don't have all these championship banners hanging in our stadium. But you know what? We see an opportunity here. And this is kind of what Nick was talking about. We see an opportunity here, and we're not going to be a laissez-faire, hands-off, let's see how this goes thing. No, let's add some pieces. Let's be aggressive. They did not give up. By the way, they did not give up really big-time prospects either. If you look at the trades, how they got Naylor and how they got Suarez, it wasn't like they broke the bank with the farm system either. Okay, so those were savvy moves, which, again, to Nick's point, is something that we've agreed with him. Scott Harris has not been able to show that he has the gumption to do. But anyways, so it's not just about Suarez, but back to the Larkin and the Yzerman Larkin thing that happened when Larkin was disappointed about the lack of moves. I can see both sides of that coin. I didn't think that Larkin should have said what he said publicly. I think that's the kind of stuff that should be kept behind closed doors. However, there is something to be said though and I know that at the time I was kind of ticked off at the team for going through yet another March slump, and I just screw these guys. They don't deserve any help. But then I'm thinking, wait a minute now, maybe if they had done something a little bit out of character, if Stevie would have done something a little bit more brazen, which I don't know what that would have been. But what if he would have done something a little bit more than just getting Peter Mrazek, essentially?
Yeah.
Then maybe that might have done something. You know, you don't like you hate for it to become like the players only get motivated, the front office does something. But maybe they did need something like that because that was like the third March in a row where they've shit the bed. So maybe he should have tried something a little bit unusual, and risk and not be so aversive. So we'll never know. But he's not going to do that. He is who he is. If we don't know who he is by now, I'm talking about Yzerman. If we don't know who he is by now, we're never going to know.
Yeah. I think we're, it's interesting, at least with baseball this year. I think, especially in this second half of the season and with the collapse in September of the Tigers, people have gone nuts. Like it's kind of this weird thing where it's not Tigers fans pulling for the team. People are like, have been going to extremes of like, oh my God, we're done. Like, oh, we're back in it. Oh, we're done. It's like, fuck Scott Harris. Yeah. Oh, we're done. Yeah. And when the Tigers aren't hitting, it's, fans are busy saying fuck Scott Harris. But
I'm seeing the fire AJ Hinch, which I think would be the stupidest thing this franchise could do.
I mean, that guy is probably pulling a miracle with the lineup he's got. I mean, like, Jesus Christ. So, like, what else can you do with that? And but it's all over the place. And whenever the dust settles from these playoffs, people are going to be pissed at Scott Harris again because he's going to do nothing. At least that's my guess because he's done nothing, and he sounds like he's not going to do anything except draft and develop young fuckers and have them come in, pretend like they're the saviors.
There was that mysterious tweet from Lynn Henning that one of you guys posted in our texting. Or didn't he allude to that there could be something big happening this offseason?
Surprise!
Yeah.
I bookmarked it on Twitter just in case I've got the receipt because he's smoking pot somewhere. Like, I don't know what the hell he's never been right for anything he says. So,
I just found that interesting considering the way it's pretty obvious this team is building, and they have something like that come out. And I think I did look through that Twitter thread real quick, and he did mention that, no, we're not talking about Skubal. So, okay, all right, we'll see what happens. But, it was one of those, I think I texted back, I'll believe it when I actually see it with this franchise right now. They are what they are, and I think they want to be the Rays more than anything else, it seems like. So,
God.
Yeah, exactly.
Or Oakland Moneyball style.
Yeah. Ask my father what being the fan of the Rays is, because all his favorite players ultimately get traded away. And he hates it. Now he loves the Rays, but as soon as one of those younger players gets good and gets expensive, they get shown the door. So it breaks his heart to see those guys leave. And I hope that's not what this franchise turns into, but. Like I said, we'll find out about all that, but it was just because it is funny how this playoff run of the Tigers, because they ended up essentially where they would have ended up if they had won the division. Suppose they're in the division round.
Yeah,
but how it's just become a referendum on how the team is built. And what the general manager is doing more than anything else. But again, more than that, because it's all because of the second half more than anything else. But they are such a frustrating team to watch. You see the talent they have on this team, but my God, sometimes it is so painful to see Riley Green flail away, or Spencer Torkelson suddenly forget how to hit for power, or it's just, I don't know. I'm thrilled where they're at, and they could very easily be in the championship series, especially if they got Skubal going on the mound. But they could also very easily be ushered out in a very painful fashion on Friday. I think Greg nailed it. If the Tigers get on the Mariners early, give Skubal a lead, they're moving on. If they don't, it's going to be trouble. I know that, and we're going to have another heartbreaking loss, and everybody's going to be mad, and everybody's going to want everybody fired, and it's going to be awful. I'm not sure if I'm ready for that.
Well, it'll be time then for like hockey and basketball season. So,
and football.
Well, football's here,
which we guess we could talk about.
As soon as we calm down a little bit.
Yeah, really. Because the Lions are 4-1. They have a 4-game winning streak. They beat Cincinnati. What was it? 37-24, I believe. They covered the spread.
They did.
It was a double-digit spread, which is rare in the NFL,
especially on the road.
Yeah, on the road as well. I mean, that was very rare, a double-digit spread on the road, and they covered. But more than anything else, it was a very workman-like win. They did give up a lot of garbage time points, but I think a lot of that did play into they were scrambling because all their defensive backs got hurt. But the game never really felt like it was in danger because they always had a double-digit lead. At one point it was huge. So the big game this Sunday, the below 500 Kansas City Chiefs, and I think the stat everybody needs to remember about that is Jared Goff is 2-0 versus Patrick Mahomes. So, but regardless of all that, the Lions look like they're in a really good spot, even with the injuries, because they did get good news about Terry and Arnold. His shoulder injury does not, appear to be season-ending, so it looks like he'll be back. DJ Reed should be back. He's on the IR, but he should be back before the end of the season. Essentially, they're just going to have to scramble for probably 4 to 6 weeks or so and kind of figure out who's going to be playing on the outside, and hope that the pass rush, which has been excellent so far this year, can help out the defensive backfield, because we saw what could happen in the fourth quarter against Cincinnati when Jake Browning had a lot of wide open receivers. But again, I think there's a bit of a caveat to that. So, but yeah, the Lions are pretty much the team everybody thought they were going to be. Now, after game one, everybody was writing them off.
Their schedule has been not the strongest so far.
Yeah.
Green Bay, yes. But then, the Bears, a Ravens team that now doesn't look very good.
Right.
They looked good when the Lions were going to play them, but now they don't look so good anymore. The Browns are the Browns and the Bengals. Okay. So it hasn't been the next 6 games, however, or 5 games or whatever it is, are tough. Chiefs, Bucks, Vikings, off the top of my head, I can't remember who else is in there.
I can find it real quick.
Yeah, it's rough. The next 5 games are a little bit dicey. I think maybe the Eagles might be in there. I'm not sure. Maybe the Eagles are later.
I think so.
Chiefs, Buccaneers, Vikings, Commanders, Eagles, and then the Giants.
Yeah, that's a rough go. So
and then they got the Packers after that. So
yeah, we'll see. I mean, you don't know in the NFL really, but on the surface that looks like a tough row. But the Lions, Nick said it a little bit earlier. They just they show up to just kick your ass every week. And the thing I like about them is, like, okay, they had that comfortable lead against the Bengals, and then a couple of relatively quick touchdowns. Now it's 28-17, and the crowd's into it, and it's on the road. It's the fourth quarter, and you're thinking, oh my goodness, if they don't do anything on this next drive, they give the ball up again, and what if the Bengals can make it a 1-score game and so forth? And you mentioned the injuries in the backfield. It looked like Browning was finding his getting a rhythm and so forth. And the Lions just said, okay. It's almost like they flip a switch. Okay, we're going to do a long drive for a touchdown now. And we're going to break your will. We're going to run the ball down your throat. They really hadn't run the ball all that well the first 45 minutes of that game. But then they decided, we're going to run the ball now. And we're going to throw some short passes.
I believe they gave it to Montgomery like 5 or 6 straight times.
And we're going to run some play action, and you can't do anything about it. And we're gonna go about 75 yards and about 10 plays and eat up about 5 minutes. And what are you going to do about it? Nothing. It almost seems like that's what they can do at will. Now, I know it's the Bengals. I get it. But still, I'm just talking about the momentum shift in that game.
Yeah.
Where the Bengals kind of made a little bit of noise.
Yeah, it's a road game in the NFL.
Yeah. And the Lions just responded and just shoved the ball down their throats, got another touchdown, quieted the crowd, and okay, the Bengals came back, got another one, but it was too late. Yeah. And that just seems to be like something they can do, almost at will. And I've seen them do it against good teams too. It's not just against the bottom feeders. They can, look at those 2 long drives they had in Baltimore, for example. They can do that. They have the ability to do that. And with the left tackle, who was awful, by the way, Manu was absolutely terrible, filling in for Decker. He was bad, especially in pass protection. But these young kids in the middle, the 2 guards, Mahogany and Ratledge, are coming along. And that's where you run the football. That's where you win the battles. Is the center and your 2 guards, and of course Sewell is he put him in the Hall of Fame right now as far as I'm concerned. So I mean, they just have that swagger and that belief that you can't do anything about it. You cannot stop us, and we don't care if we're in your building or in our building. We don't care if it's cold, if it's raining, if it's sunny, if it's indoors, we're going to do this. We're going to do what we want to do to you. And that's impressive.
Yeah.
We've never said this about the Lions ever.
No, not at all. No.
So still getting used to you saying that and remembering it's the Lions we're talking about. So.
Right. Exactly.
No, I would agree with you. Like there's nothing that's been stopping them. And the other thing we've pointed out is their play has also prompted their defeated opponents to have to make some changes. I mean, they pounded Lamar Jackson, and Derrick Henry was like, I saw some post-game interview after the Lions game. He was shaken up because of that fumble.
Yeah.
The Browns benched Flacco and then ultimately traded him.
Right.
And, this Jake Browning's performance against the Lions prompted the Bengals to trade for Flacco, make that make sense.
Right.
So, but, they've been like knocking guys out and then making teams make some serious changes. So, and maybe they'll knock Travis Kelce into retirement after this week's game. So we should be so lucky. But I mean, who knows what they're going to do with Kansas City? That'll be a tougher game. Is my guess, but we'll see. So
Kansas City does look mortal. They are looking. Yeah, they're a good team, but they don't look like the juggernaut they were 2-3 years ago.
Well, the Lions beat them 2 or 3 years ago.
Yes, they did. You're right. Yeah, that was kind of like their coming out party when they beat them for an opening night.
It was a pretty solid victory, and so we'll see. But yeah, I mean, those guys play to win. They're there to grind and play the whole game, and it's like you don't see the issues that you see with the Tigers and the Red Wings, where all the players are out there to play and to win games, and they're determined to try and beat you. There's no dissension in the locker room. I don't hear of any kind of issues in the locker room with players. Like versus like the Dylan Larkin thing, where it's like, okay, like what the fuck. So, It's been fun to watch. It's been a lot of fun to watch them. So
and speaking of Taylor Decker, who had missed the game, and as Greg mentioned, was a Giovanni Manu, the project tackle they took out of Canadian college, had to start and played and did not look particularly good, especially against Trey Hendrickson, which is a hell of a thing to face in your first start. But even still, he wasn't particularly good. Yeah. Is anybody starting to get Frag Ragnow vibes with Taylor Decker, with the stuff they're starting to say about his shoulder, that it's a chronic thing?
Yeah.
That's surgery may not help, or and that it's becoming pain tolerance. And I think Decker in an interview mentioned that he has been in contact with Ragnow as to how Ragnow handled the pain. And with Ragnow, we saw it got to the point where he had to retire. He just couldn't do it anymore.
Right.
And it looks like Decker's shoulder is to that point because he hasn't practiced at all. He's always on the injury list. And this was the first game they missed. And I believe Dan Campbell said something to the effect was, we couldn't get him where we wanted him to be with just not practicing. We had to give him a week's worth of rest. And I believe there's also a possibility he might miss the upcoming game as well. So all of a sudden, it's starting to look like maybe left tackle might be a priority for this team next year.
Well, I saw a headline. I didn't read the article, but I saw a headline that said that the Lions are not considering moving Penei Sewell to left tackle in the interim.
Right.
Now, people may say, what does it matter? Well, the left tackle is because most quarterbacks are right-handed. The left tackle is the one who protects the blind side of the quarterback. So that's why it's generally considered to be the most important part of the offensive line, especially.
And we saw what happened to Goff on the blind side a couple times in that game.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right. So, but apparently they're not considering moving Sewell to left tackle, at least not yet. I think your vibes about Decker and comparing them to Ragnow is actually pretty perceptive because Decker's 32, and he's older than Ragnow was, quite frankly. And these guys take so much abuse. They put their bodies through so much. Look at the older Kelsey, the Jason Kelsey, the center. I mean, they put themselves through so much in that interior line and then on that offensive line. You start to get things like shoulders, necks, that kind of thing. It becomes chronic. It becomes acute. And like you said, I mean, these guys are, they're big and tough. There's no question. But pain is still pain. And, it's I know these guys have a high tolerance for it, but still they're human beings, at the end of the day. So I think I think that's something definitely to keep an eye out for sure about Decker. I don't think he'd retire necessarily during the season, but it is something to look at after this year. He is 32, and you knew they couldn't keep this line together forever. It's the NFL. You can't keep anything together for longer than 3 or 4 years anyway. So they were due for a makeover. Looks like they found a good one with Ratledge. Looks like they found a good guard in Mahogany. So left tackle might be something that they look at in the draft. I don't know what kind of free agents are out there that next year they'll be available to play left tackle in the interim. But I think that it's something to keep an eye out for. But it's funny because Ratledge looked bad in week 1 against the Packers, and look where he's at now. Yeah. So maybe this Manu kid can get it together and be better. And you're right, Al. It's hard to make your debut, essentially your debut, against a player like Hendrickson. That's almost not fair.
Right.
They signed they brought back Dan Skipper now.
Yeah, Skipper.
As of today.
Yes. Skip.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's a tight end, isn't
he? Sure, why not? Wide receiver.
Yes. But it's definitely something to watch. And like I said, I'm with you there, Gray. I don't think he's going to retire during the season or anything like that. But I think the offseason is definitely definitely something to watch when it comes to where the Lions go.
He's in his 10th year right now. Believe it or not, he's in his 10th season right now. 10th.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right, and for that matter, Glasgow isn't exactly a spring chicken at this point either.
No.
Yeah.
Glasgow's actually a couple years older.
Yeah, he's 1 year older. Glasgow's 33 right now. Yeah. The line
move quickly in the NFL. Good Lord.
I know.
We've gone from the best offensive line in the NFL to, they may have to rebuild the entire line in like 2 years. But again, that's a fact of life in the NFL. It's those guys beat themselves to hell. And I think a lot of fans don't appreciate that.
No, they don't. A lot of them don't. They think they're these machines that just can go on forever, but I think the average length of an NFL player's career, and now granted this is all players combined, is like 2.5 years. I think it's less than 3. I think the average career length is less than 3.
Yeah. Yeah, which gets me all, which I can't believe when I see fans yelling, well, why don't they give it to Jahmyr Gibbs 30 times a game?
Yeah, right.
And then he'll be done after year 5.
Right.
Don't get me going on the gamblers and the fantasy players who get upset over player use, and then they let them or the coaches have it on Twitter or Facebook or whatever because of they lost their bet or they lost their fantasy game because Jahmyr Gibbs only carried the ball 10 times.
Right.
Good Lord. Sometimes social media, I think what kind of got me going is just seeing how toxic Tigers Twitter and Tigers social media, Tigers Reddit has been over the past couple of months, where it's, it's all, everybody feels good today. God forbid what it might be like on Friday night if the Tigers lose. But it's social media really at times seems to bring out the worst of some people. And I don't know if it's being anonymous. I don't know if it's being, or are they thinking they're smarter than they are? I mean, every once in a while I like to scroll through, what's going on with the Tigers Twitter. And I saw some dimwits thinking that he came up for the lineup for next year, and it had 4 rookies in it for the Tigers lineup. Max Clark was one of them.
Yeah, of course it was.
It's like, that's not a playoff team, you nitwit. I was like, thank God I'm not on Twitter because I would want to disembowel that guy for something so damn dumb. The thing is, though, it gets amplified and more, and so many people see it. People, oh God, who am I to say? You guys are on Twitter a lot more than I am. I'm sure you see it every damn day.
I try and not think too hard about it or stop too long when scrolling, especially when people try and make up new lineups. It's like, never mind. There's a reason you're not the GM. So,
yes.
But those scenarios come up all the time.
Stop hitting. Yeah. Good Lord.
I mean, they're salary cap specialists. Well, not for baseball, but I was so concerned about spending the owner's money. Oh, I wouldn't spend that much money on him.
Right.
Yeah.
No, it's his money. I'll spend all I want. Like, just give me the team I want to win a championship.
Right.
I don't care.
Oh yeah. And then you got the guys who essentially use terms like pussies and things like that about professional athletes. Like, you don't get to that level being a damn panty waist, so to speak. Those guys at that level are not pussies, as much as you might, some keyboard warrior might want to say on whatever social media. But it's like, God damn, I wish people just had more self-awareness when it came to what they say on social media. If I saw someone if one of my employees posted one of those lineups, I would have fired him. Yeah. Conduct detrimental to the company.
You should post your lineup for next year and have that guy back in the minors.
Yes. Oh, God. We've gone about an hour, a little over an hour. That's about what we were shooting for, hour to an hour and 15 minutes. So I think it's pretty much time to wrap it up, especially since we're starting to rant about social media. So, and obviously the next show we'll actually have some Pistons talk about. I believe they had their first exhibition last night. Obviously, no one was really paying attention other than Pistons Twitter because of the playoff game,
right?
In the NFL and whatever. So anyway, I think it's a good point to kind of start wrapping things up, which means it's time for our jerk of the week. As always, Nick, you are the leadoff man. You are setting the tone. Who is your jerk?
All right, my jerk of the week will be the Mark Sanchez.
I
don't know what to call it. Clusterfuck is probably and so you guys know what I'm already talking about. So I remember the news broke out something like Saturday night roughly that Mark Sanchez got stabbed. And the first thing I thought was like, oh God, he was at some bar or strip club and some fight broke out and something stupid happened.
Right.
But it was worse than that, actually.
Yeah.
if you could believe it. So from the way I understand the reports, he was drunk and got hostile with some older guy that was like 69 years old, some truck driver.
He was working, yeah.
He was working,
yeah,
and had to leave his truck there. And Sanchez lost his shit and started getting aggressive, and even coming into the truck, they started fighting. And at some point, that truck driver was fearing for his life, and here's this drunk lunatic out of nowhere,
former pro athlete at that.
That's right, and then ended up stabbing Sanchez. So now Sanchez has like 2 or 3 misdemeanors, and then I think some of the charges now might end up
felonies
that could be like 1 to 6 years in prison.
Yeah.
Now I also read that poor truck driver's job might be in jeopardy because he had a weapon with him, and his company, and it's against some kind of company policy. I don't know what the fuck the guy was supposed to do. At nighttime, some guy who's just attacking you. What are you supposed to do?
Yeah.
So it's just a big mess. It was dumb. Sanchez was drunk and stupid, and so it's awful that he got stabbed. I don't wish that on anybody, to be hurt and in that way sent to the hospital or their life be in jeopardy. But that was dumb, and it went further than usually a lot of drunk and stupid incidents happen. So my jerk of the week is that whole incident in Mark Sanchez.
Yeah, and I would also add would be the reporting, because guys were so quick to try and get something out there. Adam Schefter called it a robbery at first on Twitter. I don't know if you're familiar with Dan Dakich. He's sports talk. He came out claiming that it was because of just how dangerous of the black people are in Indianapolis, and he's still continuing to double down on it from what I saw on Twitter. Yeah, so a lot of bullshit got thrown out there on that before. Then the next day, Sanchez was Mr. Butt Fumble was the aggressor in the whole goddamn thing. Yeah, that's a good one, Nick. That's a really good one, because nothing good ever happens when you're blackout drunk after midnight. All right, Mr. Eno, you are up. Who's your jerk of the week?
Well, I usually don't get caught up in like the pregame and postgame shows of any sport, because I feel like if you do that, then you could just really just be complaining all the time. But would it kill Fox on the? I'm watching these ball games here, these Mariners Tigers games, and so forth. Would it kill Fox to have somebody in the studio who didn't play for the Yankees or the Red Sox? You've got Alex Rodriguez, David Ortiz, and Derek Jeter. Okay. Yeah. The Red Sox Yankees, filleting just is mind-boggling to me. We all know what ESPN does. They always put those 2 teams on Sunday Night Baseball, or used to do that. We always know the time's got to stop for the Yankees. The teams like the Tigers have got to change their playoff game times, and the poor fans who had tickets for Game 4 today, by the way, didn't know, I think, until like 10 o'clock last night what time the game was going to be. Why? Because it was based on if the Yankees were to stay alive against the Blue Jays. So it's all revolving around the Yankees. That's not enough. But that's not enough. Now we got to have the talking heads be all Yankees and Red Sox people. Yeah. So they're all talking to each other. And, and that's, it's not that they don't know baseball. I'm not suggesting that they don't. Jeter's, they're all good in their own way. But, I mean, can't they have, Poppy can't talk real well. He's not, it's the heavy accent. He's a nice, likable guy. He's got the big cherubic face and stuff. But he's not the most eloquent of speakers. Let's put it that way. Then they used to have Pedro Martinez before that, who also pitched for the Red Sox. So can't they have anybody? Is there anybody in the game that's a good talking head that didn't play for the Yankees or the Red Sox? It's just, to me, it's just, normally I don't get caught up in that kind of stuff, but I see those 3 guys sitting next to each other, it just rubs me the wrong way. I mean, there's got to be somebody else in baseball who's got a good presence, a good, on-air presence, a good-looking guy who can talk baseball, who didn't play for one of those 2 teams. Yeah, but they just, for some reason, They love their Yankees. They love the Red Sox, even the retired ones. And obviously, we see every time you see Big Papi as a Tigers fan, you can't help but think of what he did to the Tigers in 2013 with that grand slam. But still, beyond that, I don't know why they insist on putting these guys on. I mean, at least have one guy of the three that didn't play for one of those two teams. So it's just a little bit of a pet peeve of mine. That's all.
No, I agree with you there. And I'm just glad you didn't say A-Rod, Big Papi, and the captain. So good. Yeah, I'm with you there.
God.
Yeah, it's always I know sometimes you can't help but run into them. Run into the pre and post game stuff. But I find that my like watching the Fox's pregame for the NFL, where every guy on there looks like they're ready for the senior home, for example. And they're all
right,
you, Greg. So
right.
Yeah, it's
let me say this. Let me throw out some bouquets.
Yeah,
though.
Go ahead.
I will. My non-jerk of the week goes to Tom Verducci, because I'm not usually a big fan of these little interviews they do during the game with the managers, but Verducci is my hero because today he asked AJ Hinch point blank, "Why did you take out Casey Mize after 3 innings?" And I gave him all the props in the world, because that's the question every Tigers fan wanted to have answered. Why did you take out Casey after 50 pitches when he was pitching? He had 6 strikeouts in 3 innings, and he seemed like he was the only guy that we thought he had a chance of keeping the Mariners' bats quiet while the Tigers tried to claw back. And as you know, and you mentioned it earlier, Tyler Holden came in, immediately loaded his bases with nobody out after Hinch made that decision. And kudos to Tom Verducci for not being afraid to ask that question. And quite frankly, kudos to AJ for not getting bristly about it. He didn't. Maybe some other managers might have been a little bit.
What did he say? Because I had Dan Dickerson on. So what did
I wasn't watching? I was.
Yeah.
What did he say?
He said we wanted to be aggressive with our bullpen. Whatever. I don't even know what that means.
There was a bunch of Dickerson said there's a bunch of lefties coming up. So he goes,
Hinch said that he was going to take out Mize probably not long after he did anyway.
Yeah.
Probably not much longer. He probably wouldn't have stuck with him much longer anyway. So they decided to just do it after 3 innings. We wanted to get aggressive with the bullpen. Lefties, like was mentioned, lefties were coming up, blah, blah, blah. Another time through the order. Tigers Reddit was enraged when AJ took him out, and especially after Holden immediately loaded the bases with nobody out. So my kudos to Verducci for asking the question, and kudos to Hinch. He did not get testy or snippy. He answered it very calmly. His team was losing at the time. He didn't show any sort of emotion. He did, maybe he's got a relationship with Verducci that transcends that, but he answered it very calmly, and maybe not to the satisfaction of the Tigers fans, but he did answer it. He didn't try to sidestep it. So kudos to both of them, quite frankly. Kudos to Verducci for asking the question, and kudos to AJ the way he answered it.
Yeah. Oh God, I could just imagine what Tigers Twitter was like when that was going on. Oh Jesus. But I can also understand that. Do you trust Casey Mize?
Well, I mean, I get it, but he was pitching well though.
Yeah, he was. Yes, he was.
I don't trust that. I don't trust most of the Tigers pitchers.
Right. So. Period. Yeah. Right. That's true.
Yeah. Because Greg and I have said it for decades. Feels like decades on this show. But bullpens are volatile, and Holton was great for 2 years. Now he's become mediocre. So go figure. He's a bullpen guy. That's just
right. Exactly.
Yeah. All right, but that's a good one. I'm glad you brought up the Verducci stuff. I didn't know about that. All right, my jerk of the week is something I actually texted you guys about earlier today, and that's what's going on at the University of North Carolina and Bill Belichick.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
That has become, if you're not a fan of that team, it has become fascinating to watch what's going on down there. It kind of started earlier this week with the news that came out that there was supposed to be a documentary series on Hulu about Bill Belichick coming to college football and going to the University of North Carolina and showing how good of a coach he is. Well, that got completely canceled today. There wasn't any reasons given, but it wasn't hard to figure out why, considering North Carolina is 2-3, and their 3 losses are to their only 2 wins are to group of 6 teams who weren't very good anyway. The 3 losses are all to Power 4 teams, and they were all by massive blowouts. I mean, the TCU game where they lost like 50-something to 14 was kind of like that's how the whole season is going to go for Belichick. Well, today it's come out that there was a Twitter thread about it from some North Carolina insiders that Belichick has discussed buyout options with North Carolina. Belichick has signaled a willingness to trigger his own $1 million buyout if he can find a soft landing spot with another team or in the media. And it goes on from there with North Carolina's trying to reduce the buyout because of possible recruiting violations. There are coaches who are already trying to find other jobs. As one coach said, it's rats are leaving the ship. There was another comment where it was, let me bring it up here. There it is. That Belichick's communication with his staff the past 2 weeks has been described as weird and distant. And multiple coaches were able to get a hold of him during the bye week. And also, this really says something. One UNC defensive assistant said, "What we've done to these kids is fucked up." Has anybody done a speed run as quickly as Bill Belichick into ruining his legacy, his reputation? He could have stayed in the media and just, been, I'm Mr. 6 Super Bowls with Tom Brady, except that he had to go out and get a 25-year-old girlfriend who seems to be running his life. He decided he wanted to get back into coaching, and the only school who would touch him was North Carolina, and that has actually become an absolute shit show. And who would want Bill Belichick at this point? I mean, there was a reason why no NFL team wanted to hire him to begin with. He's in his 70s. If he didn't have Tom Brady with him, he hasn't been that good. And then you have the whole drama with the girlfriend who seems to be controlling everything with his social media and his personal life and everything else. It's absolutely nuts that a man of his at least football stature has ruined his reputation in such a final and quick manner. So my jerk of the week, guys, is North Carolina and Bill Belichick for a marriage made in hell.
That's a
great one.
That's a one bizarre scenario. I think I was texting you guys, I was surprised anybody would hire him, especially for college.
Yeah.
Let alone another NFL team. So I guess even when Bill Belichick leaves New England, he can't do well as a coach, just like all of his assistants.
Right. His own tree. He's a victim of his own tree. Yeah.
I know. It's like his self-destructive tree.
And as weird as Tom Brady is, this is just making him look better and better. That he won. It feels like he won in spite of Bill Belichick.
I think we were going back and forth. We were texting names of failed coaches of the past and who've either gone from pro to college or vice versa. But to me, it looks like that this was a money grab by the university. When they announced Belichick as the coach, the donations poured in, the season tickets, everything went crazy. Everybody got excited. The money flowed in, which was exactly what this was designed to do.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that they hired him with the idea that they thought they would have to be talking about firing him 5 games into the season, but I think I don't know that they had a long-term goal or strategy for this guy.
Right.
He's 73. Other than let's just sell a lot of tickets and let's get the boosters going. Let's get everybody excited. Let's get some money. Let's get some donations back in the football program, and let's do that and have like short-term benefit, but no long-range goal. And I don't know how they thought this Belichick thing was going to go. I really didn't. I don't know. I don't know if you guys even know what the length of the contract was that he signed. I don't know.
I'm not sure. I'd have to look it up, but yeah.
But I can't believe
be too long if the buyout's that low.
Right. So I can't imagine that the university looked at this as a long-term solution to anything. I think there was a money grab. They knew that they could sell some tickets, they could get the boosters excited, get some donations, which all of that happened. And now, quite frankly, a lot of that money that's money that's spent. I mean, they're not getting, none of that money is going back to the people who gave it to them, obviously. So that they've got their money. Okay, now the buyout is the buyout. That's true. But really, when you look at the buyout, it's not really, it's kind of a chump change anymore. And I'm sure a school like, I know North Carolina's not a football power, but they're still a big school. I'm sure they can afford it. And I'm sure they knew that this could be a possibility at some point. But I don't think anyone at that university believed that this Belichick thing was more than just a couple of years to try to get up. It was a money grab. Yeah, I don't think it was anything strategic. It was nothing long term. It has nothing to do with let's build a new culture, let's build a new program. No, it couldn't have been. Now with the 73-year-old dude who, quite frankly, the way it ended in New England wasn't all that great. So I don't know.
We're questioning the judgment of the university, which is fair. Yeah. It's like the question of judgment of Bill Belichick is like, what the fuck are you thinking? Like, you're just going to go to college and bring in your pro ways and your 6 Super Bowls and
because he brought in Michael Lombardi, another NFL guy, as the program general manager.
So
He tried to do NFL in college. It doesn't work.
Exactly. Well, his brand of NFL didn't work without Tom Brady either. So and as far as I know, Brady's out of eligibility. So.
Are we? Are we? Yeah, well, I don't know. Michigan could use a backup behind Bryce Underwood. So.
So and. Yeah.
Oh my God!
What a bizarre situation. It is actually a funny thing to follow.
It is.
Yeah, it really is.
It's really funny.
Yeah, because I just remember the open. How often do you see University of North Carolina football get a spotlight primetime game? I think it was on ABC, and you saw the hoopla on that damn stadium. And then they score in their first drive, and then every place is going nuts, and then TCU just herb stomps them the rest of the game, and that's been essentially the story of the Belichick era in North Carolina. It's been one curb stomping after another, and they're probably going to finish last in the ACC, which is the worst of the Power 4 conferences, and. It's good. Who's going to want to hire him after this? And that's the thing. We talk about why would you do this? Those at that level, those guys are just completely wired differently. They really are. They think they're infallible. That they have the magic touch. And as you guys, when you were texting all these names, that's not the case when it comes to going between college and the NFL. There's very few Bill Walshes in the world or Jimmy Johnsons. They usually turn out more like Bill Belichick. You're very much right about that.
Yeah.
Darryl Rogers.
All right. Or at least we can end the show on a giggle.
What does a guy have to do to get fired in this place?
Oh my God. Ending the show on a Darryl Rogers deep cut is perfect. So with that, let's start getting ourselves wrapping up and getting out of here. So, Nick, let everybody know where they can find you online.
Right on. If you want to talk to me about go back and forth on sports, I'll be on Twitter at Nick Milanovich. You'll see also my handle on Blue Sky, but I never really talk about sports there. So go to Twitter. And,
yes, but Nick is a very talented carver. That's what you will see on Instagram.
And then Instagram as well. So
yes,
for that, but no sports there either.
Yep, exactly. All right, Greg, if you could get out what's going on with you with social media and anything else that you may want to talk about. Oh,
sure.
And of course your Substack.
Yeah, gregeno.substack.com. Subscribe. It's free. Love to have you with me. I'll be in your inbox every Monday. It's fun to post my stuff on social media, and we kind of go back and forth. And usually it starts a nice little thread of discussion amongst kind of the regulars on X there. the same group of people that we all talked. It kind of kickstarts a conversation, so that's kind of fun. Follow me on X as well, at Greg Eno. Not sure, Al, if we should getting to be kind of time to have City Hall back on to talk about the Pistons. And I don't know though if you want to do that.
We'll have to look at the calendar and see when it would be the good time to do it.
Yeah, and it can wait till after the season starts, of course, if it has to. But it's getting to be that kind of time of the year, believe it or not. I want to also thank my lovely wife Sharon for putting up with this nonsense every couple of weeks, and thank you, gentlemen, for making, in this case, Wednesday nights so gosh darn fun.
Yeah, exactly. It's throwing me off recording a couple of days later than normal, but I appreciate it, because again, we kind of put off doing the podcast. We wanted to see if we were doing a post-mortem on the Tigers, or if we were talking about what we talked about tonight. So we obviously we'll have more to talk about the Tigers when in a couple of weeks, when Game 5, or hopefully during the ALCS, or hope. It depends on your opinion of what's going on. But regardless, that's kind of our plan, because it looks like I'm going to be up north for quite a bit yet. We'll talk about that after the show. So we'll figure out what we're going to do with guests and things like that, because it's much easier for me to handle that when I'm home and have a much more robust system to do that kind of stuff. But regardless of all that, please like, share, and subscribe to the show. We very much appreciate it if you would. Just spread the word of the Knee Jerks. You can find us pretty much anywhere podcasts are aggravated. Just do a search for the Knee Jerks podcast. Do a search for Eno, Nick, and Big Al. Something like that will allow you to find the show. And we're pretty much everywhere podcasts are found, such as Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, iHeartRadio. We're on Spotify. We're on Amazon Music, Deezer, Radio Public, Ghana. Pretty much anywhere podcasts are found, you can find this show. We also live stream the show to YouTube and Twitch. We are the Knee Jerks on the Knee Jerks podcast on YouTube, and the Knee Jerks on Twitch. YouTube stuff's up forever. If you ever want to look back at some of our stuff, the stuff on Twitch stays up for about 2 to 3 weeks. That's just how Twitch works. As well, we have the kneejerks.net. That is our homepage. All the things we talk about, all the links to the social media, all that information can be found in the show notes at thekneejerks.net. And you can also download the MP3 from there as well. So I think that about does it. So I believe I'm going to be back here for the next show. I'll have to look. We'll talk about it after the show. So we'll figure that out. But we will be back in approximately 2 weeks. We'll have the Red Wings season will have begun. The Pistons will be getting ready to play, and the Lions, obviously, and who knows what will be going on with the Tigers. So until that time from now, 2 weeks, this is Al Beaton saying good evening, good luck, and aloha, along with Nick Milanovich.
Good night, guys.
And, of course, Greg Eno.
Ciao, Italy. We'll see you in about 2 weeks.